Fox News contributor Meghan McCain, radio talk show host Gina Loudon. Gina, ended with you. Your thoughts on that kind of language referring to someone's eating habits? I would be so burnt if he caught just one camera vision of me scarfing down my breakfast. But leaving that aside, what do you think it does, and what do you think it says?
Well, I agree with you on the foodie comments. I mean, you have to be very careful about offending your fellow foodies like yourself and myself, Neil. But and truly, I think
come
that
on, Gina. It would be like you scarfing down some arugula salad. Don't compare us here. But go ahead.
I think that they had to say something. They had to be public about this because in reality, their campaigns cannot work with super PACs. This was a way, announcing that they are working together is a way to be sure and let the super PACs know without making a phone call from a campaign to a super PAC that, hey, we are going to work together and this may be our Hail Mary pass, but we're losing otherwise and we have to do something because, I mean, that's what you do when you're in a campaign. So it makes a lot of sense. Whether or not this will work for them is a whole other question because it kind of makes Trump supporters who are, Cruz supporters who are sort of purists think, wait, why would he work with an establishment type like Kasich? And Kasich supporters have got to be wondering if Kasich is truly as moderate, if he's willing to team up with someone as purist natured as Ted Cruz. So those are some of the problems they have to overcome.
I see what you're saying, but Meghan, I don't look at it as collusion. I mean, it's unsavory. It reminds people of the underbelly of politics where candidates do this stuff and have done this stuff over the many presidential elections we've had in our history. Having said that, though, whatever you think of it, I don't think it's going to do much good. And I only go on the basis of the question, why now? Is it too little too late? What do you think?
I agree with Gina. I think this is a Hail Mary pass. And as you know, I'm no fan of Donald Trump, but I actually think this has the potential to backfire. It's very confusing for voters, especially because John Kasich is saying he's pulling out of Indiana. But if my supporters still want to support me, they still can. That's confusing even for me. And I think it seems gimmicky a little. And voters want to support the candidate that they want to support. I personally am on the Ted Cruz chain. And I think if you're trying to go vote for me here, but don't vote for me here, I think it's confusing for people. And I'm honestly just worried this is totally going to backfire and blow up in everyone's face.
And Meghan, a sympathetic figure. So, Gina, by that argument, you could argue as well that it doesn't look even genuine, especially when Kasich turns it around and says, hey, no, if you still want to vote for me, vote for me. So it almost seems like an empty plan. But what do you think of it?
Yeah, well, I think that the poll numbers you gave out at the top of the show reflect the fact that people are starting to look at this race as Hillary Clinton, who has a lot of negatives, but that's because she's been so deceptive and has lied, and that the American people know her to be a liar, Neil. And I think they're looking for someone with a lot of authenticity to go up against her. And I think that may be the reason why you've seen Donald Trump's numbers go up. I mean, Neil, for all you can say negative about Donald Trump, you got to admit he says exactly what he thinks. That's the opposite of Hillary Clinton, and that might be the contrast that voters are looking for this season.
All right, now I know you're not a fan of Hillary Clinton, but not everyone thinks she's a liar. But having said that, I do want to ask you, Meghan, what the fallout will be ultimately, especially when so many establishment figures, for want of a better term, are skipping out of the convention. Jeb Bush, your own father. And I'm wondering whether that sends a message that not everyone is playing on the same team.
My father's up for re-election and he's campaigning very hard in Arizona, so that's why he's not going to be attending. And I think it's fine if you're up for re-election and you don't maybe want to come to this convention. I think even for people like me,
Meghan, for just a day to stop by.
He's in a very tough race. I mean, I don't blame him for staying home in Arizona, but I do think at this point that even for people like me that are never Trump, if the will of the people, if he gets 1237, he gets 1237, and people like me have got to deal with it. And I'm exhausted with all of this. I hope this works for Ted Cruz. John Kasich right now, even for me, I can't understand a foreseeable pathway where he thinks he's going to be the nominee. Just winning one state, it's not enough of an argument for me, even with his numbers up against Hillary Clinton. And I think right now maybe it's going to be Trump season, and ultimately people like me are going to have to deal with the fallout that happens after the election.
Yeah, and Kasich's got to hope to change the rules so he can get on the ballot at the convention. Ladies, thank you both very, very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Well, Donald Trump, as we said, is holding a rally.